Hello, lovely people. It's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. A vlog just went up last night and I'm already recording the next one. It's Sunday, August 17th. 1 week to my birthday. I still get excited about birthdays. I think we should all do that. Get excited about birthdays. And you know what? If other people aren't going to make it special for you, you need to make it special for yourself. That's my theory anyway. I don't really get gifts for my birthday from my family. So what I have to do is give myself a gift. And I've got a couple of ideas of what to give myself this year. I was wondering whether to get a 1-year subscription to Uppercase magazine, which is an absolutely gorgeous magazine for anyone who's got even an ounce of arty, creative spirit in their body. And it's a one-woman enterprise. She works out of Calgary, so it's a Canadian publication, no ads, and it's just jam-packed with wonderful, wonderful pages of artwork, whether it's collage or paper crafts, other paper crafts, or fabric crafts, or thread work, or whatever. And it's just so inspiring. I saw it at the library a long time ago, and I have borrowed a few issues from there, but it would be kind of nice to have my own, because I just feel like you could make art from the magazine once you'd finished drooling over it. So that was one idea. The other idea, I thought I might get a pro account in Canva. It's very frustrating when you go to Canva and you want to have, say, a yellow yarn ball to put in your thumbnail, and there's maybe 3 choices for the free version and then 3,033 choices for the paid version. So I might get Canva Pro instead. I think that would be fun. You can pay monthly or you can pay yearly. Of course, paying monthly is a lot more expensive overall. But hey, I might sign up for the 14-day free trial and see how I like it. I'm sure there'll also be cake and ice cream next weekend. Like there isn't cake and ice cream any old time anyway. I mean, I made cookies today, but then that was so that I could take a container of cookies to the craft night at work. I made cranberry almond cookies, and they're really good because I tested one out. I thought I'll make a double batch. I never make a single batch of cookies. I made a double batch, and I thought that means I can take a good wad of them to the craft night, and I can leave some home for my family. And of course, test one for myself to make sure they're acceptable to share with other people. Every good chef tastes their own food, right? Anyway, it was a really, really good recipe. Had to cook them for a lot longer than the recipe said, but then I usually make cookies bigger than they say in the recipe, so I guess I shouldn't complain. So yeah, it's been a warm day so far. We got out walking at 9 o'clock this morning and it was already maybe 21 degrees by then. And we were out till almost 10 o'clock. And while we were walking around, I was doing a messenger video chat with my sister, which was nice. And yeah, it was pretty sunny and hot, even at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then when I got back, I wanted to do a couple of things like vacuum the house and water my plants. My poor deck plants haven't had water for a couple of days. Surprised they're still alive. And I cooked some sushi rice so that it's got time to cool down for dinner. I also planned on the craft I want to do tonight. Now, I thought I might do lino printing. I was going to pick up a kit of speedball lino printing, and in the kit you get a little 4x6 thing, and you get the tool for carving out a pattern. I think you get the ink and a roller, a brayer they call it. And I thought, okay, I could do that. But the only downside to that is that carving out the pattern on the lino pad is really time consuming. And I thought, if I'm still sitting there by the end of the evening, still trying to carve a decent picture out, and I haven't even got to printing anything, I'm going to be so frustrated. So I've changed my mind. what I decided to do was to get a jelly plate. And I've looked at these before, but never got one. But I've seen people like Zetsta's Lab. She uses one and she gets some lovely results. She prints onto paper mostly. And my friend Annette has one. She recently bought the really large one because she does a lot of that. So I'm going to get that. And rather than print on paper, I don't want to get just regular paints and print on paper. I want to get inks that work on fabric, and then you can heat set them so they're permanent. So what I've decided to do is get a jelly plate, the small one. I will get a brayer because I don't have one of those. And I will get these Speedball fabric inks, which are actually made for screen printing, but you can use with a jelly plate. So all you have to do is you blob ink or paint onto the jelly plate, you roll it around until the whole surface is covered. And then what you can do, like what I've seen Zetsta's Lab do, she gets all the paint on there or the ink, and then she puts a stencil on it and presses that into paint and then peels it off, and then she does her paint print. So it looks really cool. So I've got a plastic piece of matting or something with an interesting lacy pattern cut out of it that my friend left here when we tried that sun dyeing a few weeks ago. It didn't really work. And I'm going to use that as my stencil. So I won't need to buy a stencil. I've got my own. And I've got a canvas tote bag that I made last year as a practice for making up. I was thinking of making lots for the festival, but I ended up not doing that. But I've got this plain tote that's just a very light canvas, and I've been using it just for throwing a few bits and pieces in, like maybe when I've been shopping occasionally or going to the library. So I'm taking that with me because I know it's been washed at least once. So I know there's no sizing in it, so that's good. I'm taking my fabric scissors, that canvas tote, some extra canvas, the sort of plasticky stencily thing, and then I just got to buy the jelly plate, the ink, and the roller. So I think that will be good for tonight. Looking forward to that. I have seen another way. Somebody somewhere I saw that you can use pretty much any non-stick surface for rolling your paint on. Jelly plates tend to be quite expensive. And Michaels does have a couple of silicone matte options which you could use for way less money. They have one in the cooking or cake baking aisle. They have one in the, what is it? I think the scrapbooking aisle. Or maybe it's the rubber stamping aisle. I know I've seen it there. It's just a roll, like a silicone mat. It's not for baking, but it's just for, I don't know, like a non-stick, easy, clean mat to make messes on. So I could go cheap, but if at this craft night I'm allowed to buy a jelly plate, I will. Why not? And then I don't have to stick with using it for fabric down the road. I can try it with other paints, use it for paper maybe, just to see what it's like. So that's that. That was a lot of chat without getting to anything that I'm doing today. What I have done so far today is I have done a bit of tea dyeing, and I had this little thing in mind. Once I had finished my last journal wrap with all the turquoises and pinks, so gorgeous, I wanted to make something that was more like natural colors, as in off-whites, browns, greens, and things like that. I know, not usually my style, but I just have this bee in my bonnet about it, and I want to do something like that. So I didn't have any plain quilt cottons. That's something I never buy. I've only got prints. But I did have some white linen left in my cupboard, or in my drawer, I should say, from making a linen top. So I've cut a piece off it and I tea dyed it today. I put 6 Yorkshire tea bags into a bowl, put 1.5 litres of boiling water on top and just left it sit for about half an hour. And then I can see it isn't a particularly even result, but I don't care. That's part of the charm, right? So once the tea had steeped, I took the bags out and I added a little bit of extra water because I could see it was pretty dark. And then I immersed this and also this piece of Ada cloth, this cross-stitch cloth, into it. It's a very small amount. It's all I've got left, I think, from previous projects. And of course, this is 100% linen. This is 100% cotton. And so they took it up really well. In fact, a bit too well. I was hoping for more of a even lighter result, really. I did not pre-wet the fabric, so I probably did things in the wrong order. I threw the dry fabric into the tea, weighed it down so it wasn't sticking out of the water, and then after a little while took it out and just washed it with some soapy water and rinsed it. What I probably should have done is pre-soaked it at least, or maybe even pre-washed it, even with just a bit of dish soap. Pre-washed it, got any sizing out of it, and while it's already wet, then put it in the tea and then rinsed it after. So I kind of did things back to front, I think. But hey, it worked. And by washing it afterwards, I'm pretty confident that this staining is not going to come out now. So the plan is to make maybe a drawstring bag out of this. So I will decide on my dimensions and cut a couple of pieces for the back and the front of the bag. And for this thing, this stuff, I thought what would be really cool is to sew onto the bag a tiny piece of Ada which has got a little cross stitch on it. So for this one, I'm not going to use my Pearl 8 cotton, the crochet cotton. I'm going to go back to this big basket of embroidery flosses in this fun basket I made not long ago, which I absolutely love. And I'm going to dig out some browns and greens and things from this lovely, lovely pile of embroidery floss that my friend gave me. Can't believe it, such a pile. There's some nice earthy tones in there. So this is going to be an earth-toned drawstring bag. And I'm thinking maybe the drawstring will just be a piece of jute, because that'll keep with the theme. So that's going to be my next slow stitching project. Really looking forward to that. So I'm just going to toss those bits of fabric in that basket and put that aside for now, because what I want to do first is just do a quick practice on quilting, because this is a piece from the sheet I bought from Velu Village, the thrift store sheet, and which is polyester, which is not ideal. I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to quilts, and that I always use cotton in my quilts. I don't use cotton thread though, so you know, we all choose where our boundaries lie, don't we? I know a lot of people think you should use cotton thread for cotton quilts because it's not going to cut through the fabric as quickly, but I use just regular polyester thread, usually Gutermann, because I know that's a good make. But I've cut a bit off this sheet, and I'm going to just sandwich it with this piece of batting and this, what did they call that? That was a something 9 patch. That was when I was in my making 9 patches and slashing them and rearranging them and resewing them. I can't remember, something 9 patch. I'm going to use this as my practice run, put these 3 layers together, and I'm going to try a little bit of quilting on them just to see if I like the way it looks with the polyester backing before I go and dive into the big quilt top. So that's what I'm going to do next. Rather predictably, this was a very slapdash quilting attempt. I didn't pin, I didn't spray baste or anything. So when I did the practice lines, I got a nice big pucker in the top. And yeah, it looks a little bit overly puffy on the back. I think it'll work though. I was worried I was going to get that nasty little sound of it punching through synthetic fabric each time it's sewed a stitch, but I didn't get that. And I think it will be okay. I'll just have to be careful to prep it properly. Unfortunately, most of the floors in my house are carpeted, and so sticking the backing down on the floor is kind of hard. But maybe I'll just use my T-pins or something and like literally pin it to the carpet on the edges and then safety pin to all the 3 layers together. I'll give that a go. The quilt top is sandwiched with the batting and the backing, so it's all pinned, and I've rolled it loosely and I've abandoned it now. That was quite the work. I'm still not sure whether I should machine quilt it or maybe even tie it or hand quilt it. I'm not decided yet. For now, I'm going to move on to the other project I wanted to do today. Okay, my linen's at the ready, my batting's at the ready. This is the same batting that I used for the quilt just now, and this is just an offcut. Here's my Ada cloth, and I took one of the flowers. Hold on, where did it go? One of these flower stamps. And I just inked the top half of it, and I stamped it on here. It didn't come out quite as noticeable as I wanted it to, but that's okay because I'm going to cover it with thread now. I've started pulling out some of the nice natural colours that I've got in my floss basket, and I busted open this guy, which is the Ranger Distress collection of the stamping colours, because I wasn't really sure by looking at them which colours were which. But I have ascertained now that we've got grey, a light brown, a dark brown, and a black. So I used the light brown to stamp this on here because I just want to use it as a guide to do a teeny tiny cross stitch. I'm not sure why I just pulled out so much thread, because all this is going to be for is the center of the flower. Okay, we're just going to cut a teeny bit off. And I'm going to split it down to 3 strands. I made a few notes in this notebook here, and I think what I'm going to do is just aim for a 6-inch square. So I'm going to cut it 6 3/4 inches square to allow for seam allowances. But then when I do a small amount of boxing at the bottom, it's going to make it a little bit more squat. So it's going to be, I think, kind of a cute little bag. And then, because it's not a huge thing, it'll be quick to make. And I don't know what I've done with my needle. I just realized that I balanced my needle on my cross stitch fabric. Here it is. And it disappeared. So I feel like, because I don't know how this is going to turn out, that I should probably just stick with a small area to work with to start with. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's see if I can bring you down lower and actually work through the light and camera. It's going to be a little challenging because what I'm seeing here is partly blocked off by the bracket holding the phone in place. So I'm going to be off to the side a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, my eyesight isn't good enough to do this, and my coordination. Oh, this isn't good. Oh, okay. My eyesight and coordination aren't good enough to do this looking through the phone camera, but I've just done a few little cross stitches for the front of this flower, and now I'm going to add in the apricot-y shade for the petals. I think that's looking kind of, oh, still shaking. Stop shaking. I think that's looking quite pretty. Oh God, my cuticles are a state, aren't they? Wow, I had to cut my nails down because I broke 2 nails and I can't stand it if they're not all the same length. Stamping on the Ada first makes the little holes a bit harder to see, but I'm managing by peering very closely at it without my glasses on. Yeah, I'm going to do some green for the stem and the leaves after. And I've left some of this. Oh, it just changed colour, didn't it? Whoops. I've left some of this unstitched because I thought I might find a slightly darker shade to go around the very edges of the flower. And then what I think I'll do is I'll border it maybe with a rectangle of backstitch. I didn't bother using a frame because it's such a small thing and I didn't want to make a ridge in the fabric. So once I've made a little backstitch frame, I will cut the cloth and maybe just fray the edges slightly. Hopefully it'll look good. I found an orange, a dark orange that will go around the lighter orange. So I'm trying to make it as random looking as possible. There's going to be a little bit of a green one to the left of that one there. And I'm trying not to make it look just like a block of cross-stitch stitches. I think that looks pretty so far, but I'm going to put it down because I am starving because I didn't really eat lunch. So I'll show you it when it's finished. It's Monday. I have to go to work in about half an hour. But I've been making the most of the last little bit to add to my cross-stitch embroidery. And it is ready to go onto the bag. It's so cute. Worked out about 2 inches tall with the little green frame on it, and then I cut it 3 squares away from the green and then frayed out the last section all around. So I think that'll work. I must keep that in a safe place because I don't want to sweep that off into the bin or something like that. Oh, I am now officially 4 yarn balls into my fitness program. I'm so excited. I still haven't bought those 4 yarn balls because I'm still holding out for a yarn sale at Michael's. There's no sign of one yet. Just want to get more bang for my buck, as they say. But yeah, that project that I'm planning to do with those balls of yarn is a long way off, so we won't talk too much about that right now. Let's talk about what I actually did last night at the craft night. So somebody was leaving, plus it was a craft night, and I found out that there's basically no budget. So you just go shopping around the store for supplies for the thing you want to make, and just let them know what you use so they can write them off, of course. And so I ended up getting a gel printing plate by Speedball. There are 3 sizes of this. I got the smallest because, you know, I don't want to abuse the generosity or anything. So I got the smallest gel printing plate. It's 5 by 7. And just get it out of here. Excuse the creaking plastic noises for a minute. So it's literally just a clear piece of gel type stuff. And it's got protective plastic on either side. So you peel it off to use it, and then it just washes up with soap and water, and then I put the plastic back over it to protect it. So a lot of people use these for printing on paper and on fabric, probably. I haven't seen a lot of people using it for fabric, but I really don't see why not. And then I have a Speedball printing paper pad. I used quite a few of these last night. It's 5x7, exactly the same size as my not a jelly plate. That Jelly, G-E-L-L-Y, is a brand name. Can't call it that. So I've got a gel printing plate, 5x7 inches, printing paper pad, the same size. And I've got my little brayer. Got the smallest size on that again. It's only a little gel plate, so I didn't need a large one. And then the plan I had for getting the fabric printing ink fell by the wayside. I ended up getting the Speedball block printing inks. Apparently you're not supposed to use acrylic paints with this gel plate. So I got a set of, well, it wasn't a set, there were 3 individual colors. They had other colors, but I got my favorites. I got the magenta in the Speedball block printing ink. And being block printing ink, I'm thinking they probably intend this for use with the lino cutting, but I didn't end up doing the lino cutting. I got the turquoise, of course. Why wouldn't I? My favorite color. And the fluorescent lime green. And then, because I wanted to try messing around with stencils, I'm not sure what I did with my piece of, oh, there's something missing here. There it is. I wanted to try applying the paint to the gel plate, rolling it out, and then pressing a stencil in it to make some interesting patterns. I ended up cutting a piece off this plastic mat that my friend had left with me when we were dyeing fabric, and I used that, and I ended up using paper rather, as I say, I ended up using paper rather than plastic. So, mixed results. I also bought this layering set of stencils, which you can't really see, but there you go. That's the tree. So it's a set of 5 stencils. I'll show you them one at a time. So what you do is you stencil different colors with each stencil, lining it up exactly with the previous one. So you get a layered picture rather than just one flat thingy, one flat tree. And I messed around with that. Using the brayer with the stencil wasn't perfect. It would have been better to have had one of those blunt stenciling brushes, but I persevered. So I had mixed results, some interesting results, I suppose. I used all 3 colors and rolled them on the thing, and I pressed the paper into it. So that's one of the prints that I made. Beautiful colors. What did I do? I've got like that really didn't work out. Pardon me, that didn't really work out at all. Not very exciting. Can't remember in what order I did these. All right, so these were prettier where I used something to actually print. I got ink onto that plastic flowery shaped thing and then printed it on. I prefer that. This is a little bit more striking. And there's another one where I did a couple of images. And then this one is where I rolled the paint, like re-rolled some extra paint on, drew some leaves in the paint, and then pressed it to make a print. Oh, and I almost forgot. Here's the tree stencil. But yeah, it didn't really work easily. I did it off to the side because I wanted to line up my stencils with the edge of the paper so that I knew that they were going over each other at the same place. And it looks quite pretty. But yes, I didn't really have the right tool for that. So it was a fun bit of play, and I learned things from it. So that's good. And then I had sort of exhausted my inspiration there, and then other people were making fun stuff like cauldrons filled with clear ornament balls that looked like bubbles bubbling out of the cauldron, and they were playing with hot glue and fairy lights and all sorts of fun things. Another person was doing like a jewelry thing, so she had a key ring and she was doing all these chains with charms dangling off the bottom, and she made one for her and one for her daughter, which I thought was really cool. What else? Someone just made a little sort of Halloween-y thing with a clear box and some moss in it and a little tiny coffin with a little tiny skeleton inside. So after I sat around thinking, am I going to be doing anything else tonight, or am I just going to watch other people finish theirs? I ended up going around the store again, and I picked up these. They are tulip iridescent dimensional fabric paint. Never used anything like this before. So this is a set. There's pink and white and blue and turquoise and lavender, set of 6. And you just use it straight out of the bottle. You just take the lid off and you draw straight from the nozzle of the bottle, which gives, shall we say, childish results, but that suits my art skills, right? I've always said my drawing skills are preschool level. So it worked. I'm not sure if this is completely dry yet, so I'm going to be careful with it. So the canvas bag that I took with me that I was going to print on, I ended up drawing on with these dimensional fabric paints. Look. Ta-da! So yeah, just a daft little bee and a flower and a peace sign and a heart and stitches and slapdashery. So as you can see, very childlike, very amateurish. But it's fun. So now that I've got those dimensional fabric paints, I should probably think of something else to do with them, because, you know, I don't want them just sitting around doing nothing. I think it might be quite fun to do an applique project, because I've heard that what you can do with raw edge applique is that you can put dimensional fabric paint around the edges of the shapes when you've applied them. That would be fun, wouldn't it? So all in all, I was pretty pleased with my haul last night, because that was quite a wodge of value there to bring home. It was fun. There was food. There was soda. I don't drink soda, so I didn't have any of that. There was quite a good turnout. And yeah, the girl who was leaving, we saw her off in style. I left about 8:40 because I was done by then. I thought, yeah, I've had enough. I've got a bit of a drive to get home. So, and good grief, when I left the store and drove home, it was a Sunday night, and the amount of boy racers out there driving dangerously along the highway, I was gobsmacked. Too many young people in fast cars driving dangerously. So I just stayed in the far right lane, poodled along at the speed limit, and thought, just stay away from me, you guys. If you're going to do lots of lane changing and speeding, just keep your distance from me, because I don't want to know. Anyway, I'm probably going to have to leave all this behind right now, because I need to go and do the last couple of things before I go to work. I would much rather sit here all afternoon and make my lovely little drawstring bag and do more slow stitching, but it's not to be, not today anyway. What day is it today? Wednesday. It's Wednesday morning. I have to go to work at 11:15 to be on the safe side, to get there for 12. As I've said before, I need to allow a 45-minute window for doing my commute, even though it doesn't usually take that long, but I don't like being late. And sometimes the traffic is really bad. Sometimes I dream of moving to a tiny town where there is no traffic, and then I think, well, I like all the services we get here. I like all the opportunities for eating out and entertaining and all that sort of thing. We don't go out a lot, but it's nice to have it close by if you want to, you know? Oh, it's a beautiful morning. I've been trying to take my breakfast out on the deck most mornings just so that I can breathe in the cooler air, look at the lovely view. We've got a distant lake view where we are, which will get better as the leaves fall because I'll be able to see through the trees. Right now, my walnut trees are blocking part of my view. But it's been lovely. Unfortunately, there's a jag of heat coming. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday's forecasts are for mid-30s, and it's like, no thanks, I can do without that. Thank God for air conditioning. All I can say to that. It's my birthday weekend though, so I'm not going to be staying indoors the whole time. I do want to get out and about this weekend and make it a bit special, you know. Maybe get to the farmers and crafters market, that sort of thing. Actually, I should probably go to at least 2. One on Saturday morning, one on Sunday morning. How's that? And then I could try and round up more donations for the festival I'm helping to organise in September. Things are coming together, but too slowly for my liking. I have about 30, maybe, promises of donations. It's gone onto the second page of lined A4 letter-sized paper. But I'd like to fill up the whole second page if I could, and I've got a month in which to do it. Really less than a month, because we want everything done by the 13th of September. So that was the weather update. That was the festival update. What else? I did a bunch of crocheting last night. After work, I obviously made dinner. Well, I sat down on the couch with a cup of tea first and had a bit of fruit, because we've got that lovely Costco fruit in at the moment from our shopping trip last weekend. I bought plums, oranges, Cara oranges. They are so good. And nectarines. And so I've been eating fruit till it's been coming out of my ears this week. It's been wonderful. Again today, I've packed a Tupperware container, which is, you know, it's like the size of a big jar with a screw top, and packing it with fruit and pouring lemon juice on it just to keep it from browning, and eating that. And makes you feel so healthy. What else? When my boss got back a couple of weeks ago from the, what do they call it? I don't know, leadership conference, management conference in Texas, she brought back some freebies. Now, I did grab one thing. At first, I was like, oh, there's some pastel colors. I'm sure Mr. Stitches would like those, so I'm going to swipe them. And then I waited for a few days and stuff wasn't moving. So then I brought home a Pigma pen, because I used to love Pigma pens for writing on fabric, for making my quilt labels when I was making them like mad. And and some beads. So these are so cute. Fueling Joy, Michael's Leadership Summit 2025. Now, to me, that definitely fuels joy. Look at the colors. Can you see them? There's pinks and reds and yellows and greens and turquoises, and like a pale pink, I think. Definitely fuels my joy, all those colors. So tiny seed beads, which will be perfect for putting on little scrap fabric pins or something like that. So I thought, if nobody else wants those, I'm having them. And then another week goes by and there's still stuff on the table, and I was like, I'm going to take something else home then. And the other people who were in the break room at the time were fine with it, so I'm like, okay, going to do it. So I brought back 2 fat quarters of snowman fabric, or snow person fabric. There's actually a snow bear there and a snow dog. Look, where is it? That looks like a snow dog to me. So I brought those back because nobody else seemed to want them, and I'll throw them in my Christmas fabric bin, because why not? Yeah, I was telling you that after I got all my stuff done last night, that I did quite a bit of crochet. So I've made good progress on the snowy wheat puff crochet beanie. I hope that's it. I have now done this much. This curly bit is not a problem because when I have made it to the correct circumference or the correct width here, I am going to be folding it and seaming it along that edge. So any curl in my ribbing will be gone. As you can see, it is not yet big enough to go around my head, even stretched. So that's that on the crochet beanie. So I think I have about an hour left until I have to go out. So I'm going to make a little bit of progress on the drawstring bag with the slow stitching, although I might not get much slow stitching done today, but I need to cut out my batting and my linen. So that's what I'll do next. So I changed my idea slightly for the height of the bag. I have made it 7 by 6 plus seam allowances now instead of 6 by 6. So I cut it 7 3/4 tall by 6 3/4 wide. Linen does not like to sit straight. It likes to skew like crazy. It makes it challenging for accurate cutting. Never mind. So I want to start by putting my little cross stitch embroidery on here somewhere for the front of the bag. And then I'll do some free form slow stitching around that. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do with this. With hindsight, I could have waited and done this green stitching until I had this ready and just done all the sewing on at the time. But what I'm now thinking is I could do maybe another line of stitching around it through these holes between the stitching and my frayed edge and then sew it on that way. So I think I'm just going to throw it on right there. It's just going to be eyeballed on. Not going to worry too much about straightness or distance from the edge or anything. And actually, if I could find my oh good grief. This is what happens when you get a messy caddy on your sewing table. The sticky, what do you call it, double-sided tape gets everywhere. I'm just going to cut that bit off, throw it away. And it's sticking to my fingers. Oh my gosh. All right, there's the end of it. I'll find it in a minute. The challenge of everything sticky, right? You've got to find the end of the roll. Here we are. So I think I'll just put a couple of little bits of this on the back of here. It's clear, so no one will see it through there once I've taken the backing paper off. I have my window open here. I was a little sad to close up the windows this morning because it was only 20 degrees out there and the house was about the same, and the breeze coming in the window felt very nice, but I know it's going to get hot. So I thought I better close up the windows and close the window coverings on the south side of the house before it's too late. Now let's see, I'm going to have a seam right there. Boxing is going to happen there. Maybe I'll move it over a teeny bit. I don't mind my stitching going into the seam, but I don't want that to be too close to it. There we go. So I think I've got a little piece of that orange thread still left. This is what happens when I make stuff. I just make a big mess. I know it's not ideal. This one, I usually try and pull these things out with the right end so that it just comes out neatly. You cut off what you need and it's left nice and tidy. But this one didn't play ball. I suspect I probably pulled the wrong end. All right, what have we got? Do I do green? Do I do orange? do like this orange. So I'm thinking I'll go along here with a running stitch. Amazingly, I didn't lose my needle this time. And I do have shoes on, so hopefully I won't be stepping on anything sharp today. I was a very bad girl when I did the cross stitch. I used knots. I know you're not supposed to. And I found out why you're not supposed to. You see that? Oh, yeah. So when I usually do cross stitch, I leave a little tail and you just work over it. And then when you finish with that piece of colour, you just kind of tuck it under the stitches on the back. Well, I tied knots on this one and I found out why that's a bad idea. It's because frequently you're going back into the same hole near the knot or near the beginning of your thread, and then it gets all caught up. So it's a good way to learn, right? Making that sort of mistake. Yeah, I'm at the stage now where if I'm wearing my glasses, I have to slide them down my nose or even take them off in order to do stuff, because my eyesight is like -8, -9. And if I'm wearing my contact lenses, which I'm not yet, but I will be putting them in for work. So if I'm wearing my contact lenses, I have to put my reading glasses over top to do anything involving reading or close or detailed work. And when I was doing this cross stitch the other day with my lenses and my reading glasses in, I still couldn't see particularly where the needle was going. So I know that there's a few messy stitches in there. Well, maybe one at least where I think I did like a half-size stitch because I couldn't really see. I'm trying not to go over towards that frayed edge because I don't want to mess that frayed edge up. I do love how relaxing slow stitching is. I don't think I really appreciated it in the past. I've done my share of embroidery and cross stitch, but I've always been the type who just wants to be a production crafter and finish stuff and move on to the next thing. And I'm learning how to slow down. Maybe that's part of being older now. I don't know. Some people who are younger seem to have that ability to take their time over things. I've always been a bit impatient. Oh, I was watching Zetsta's Lab last night. She's hilarious. She's South African. And she started her video by saying, I was going to take Henry out today. And I thought, okay, who's Henry? Is it a husband? Is it a dog? And then she said, Henry is my vacuum cleaner. And she said, I had the urge to take Henry out. And she said, and then it passed through me in a wave and I got to making these bowls out of fabric. And I thought, yeah, I get that completely. Who wants to clean when you've got all this crafty stuff just sitting there waiting to be done? I did vacuum the house. When was that? Sunday, I think I got the vacuuming done. So I'm good. And I know the bathrooms are going to be cleaned Friday morning because I have friends coming over. So I always make sure the bathrooms and the kitchen are at least acceptable, if not pristine, but at least presentable. So that's fine. And I did a load of laundry this morning and I already hung it on the line and I've just unthreaded my needle. So I've done laundry today. I've packed my snack for work. And I unloaded the dishwasher and put the dirty stuff in it. So I feel like I have done my bit so that I can enjoy a little bit of stitching before I go out. Yeah, cuticles are still bad. I think I'm going to have to treat myself to a home manicure. I'm not going to paint my nails again, though. That was too much hassle. But I think I should probably soak them in something nice and then file my nails, clip the cuticles, and use a nice Wadger hand cream on there because They are sadly neglected. Oh, did I put that in the right place? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I think slow stitching has definitely taken over from cross stitching as my hand stitching of choice now. Freehanding it. I quite enjoyed this little bit, but I wouldn't have wanted to do a whole project of cross stitch this time. Well, I think I'm only just going to have enough of this thread to finish the last side, but I think I can manage it. So I was watching Ali. She has her 2 channels. She has Little Drops of Wonderful and This Little Wonderful Life, and I was watching her This Little Wonderful Life latest episode last night, which is her family channel rather than her crafting channel, although the 2 things do overlap quite a lot. And she was saying how she likes August. She knows that even if it's really hot, that it's coming to an end and the evenings are drawing in. And she has a seasonal depression that I hadn't heard of before she mentioned it. She gets depressed in the summer. She doesn't like all the light or the heat or the noise. And she is happy when autumn rolls around. And I thought, I don't have seasonal depression. I enjoy every season for what it brings, but I do love when the nights start to draw in. It always takes me by surprise. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it always takes me by surprise that in August, which feels like it's the height of summer, that it gets dark so early. But I'm glad it does, because there's nothing I like better than hunkering down on a long dark night with crochet blankets galore and something fun to do or to watch. So I completely get where she's coming from with that. She does some beautiful journaling. She's got a talent for sketching and for watercolor painting in her journal that just, yeah. Let's just say I can only aspire to that. I've always said my art level is preschool. I think I said that earlier in this video. Or maybe in the last vlog, I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's cute. Now, I'm hoping that's going to hold okay and that all of these little frayed edges are not going to go anywhere. I don't want to put fray check or fray stop on them because they might go a little crunchy, and I would hate for that to happen. But now I'm thinking that maybe it needs a little bit more to hold it down here. And I might do, as I'm slow stitching, I might pop up through here and add some little X's or some little French knots or something, just to add some extra color and texture within that frame. So that worked really well. I've got just enough thread left to tie a decent knot. Well, you know what I mean. I'm going to put this needle on this little scrap of Ada so I don't lose it. So that's the first step done on that. I don't think I mentioned, these are the drawstring channels for the top. So by the time I have double hemmed them, I've cut them the same width as the bags, 6 3/4 by 2 inches. And by the time they're double hemmed, they'll come into about here, and they'll fit perfectly for making a drawstring channel. Let me just convert those measurements to centimeters, just in case you'd rather have centimeters. So 6 3/4 inches is about 17.3 centimeters, and 7 3/4 inches is about 19.5 centimeters. And then this is 2 inches, which is 5 centimeters, and by, again, that width, which is about 17.3 centimeters. And this little cute thing ended up being about 4 centimeters by 5-ish, 5.5. I've added a pin in each corner just to stop it from pulling around. I did put some basting spray in there, but yeah, this linen is wibbly wobbly stuff. I used a friction pen, which is one of these heat erasable pens, and you can use it on paper and just erase it with the tip at the back, or you can use them on fabric and iron them off later. They don't say they're for fabric. They do warn you if you go out in freezing cold weather, below freezing, it might come back again, but I've never considered that to be a concern of mine, so I'd use them on fabric. Normally where I'm not going to see them, but in this case, I drew a line just to get myself started on the first one with the friction pen, just to get started and give myself a nice curve. And it did work rather well. Now I have this piece that I cut earlier, and I'm hoping it's going to be long enough to go across the fabric. I'm going to start with a whole bunch of running stitches, and if I get inspired to do something else, then I'll add something else. But for now, we're doing running stitch. It would be nice to do kind of a fern stitch. I don't know if that's what you call it. There's one that looks really cute, like a fern. So what I thought I would do with this video is, rather than do my usual frantic speed it up and put music over it, I thought I'd have a couple of quiet little, no talking, but just slow stitching periods. So tell me what you think of that, and if you like it, and if you prefer it to all the chat and the music. I'll probably continue to do a bit of both, but it's always good to get a bit of feedback. I'm going to have to put this down now because I need to go and do a couple of last minute things before I go to work. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this again. If ever you do anything inspired or similar to what I'm doing on my vlogs, please do put your pictures on Instagram and tag me at Stitches and Slapdashery, because I will see them then, because I'd love to get more inspiration from you. We can share ideas. It's about 9 o'clock at night. I did try and get a nice little segment to add outside on my deck, but I lost the light. I left it just a little bit too late. The crickets are having a good old sing-song outside tonight. So I've got to over an hour. I have edited all the footage I've made between Monday and today, and it's over an hour. So I'm thinking it's probably time to wind it up. We're not going to finish the slow stitched drawstring bag today. Part 2 will have to be in vlog 114. But that's okay. I'm embracing the slowness and trying not to rush things. I do have a whole day free tomorrow. It's lovely. I have no commitments whatsoever. I will undoubtedly go for a walk at some point and probably cook a meal at some point. Apart from that, I want to just be making stuff. So I want to make good progress on the drawstring bag, and I want to get some quilting done on this string pieced quilt from earlier. I've been working on this on and off for quite some time now. When I think about it, I think I started making those squares before I went over to Jersey for my mum's funeral. So sometime in the spring, probably, maybe March, I made the first batch, and then I made a second batch, and I got 36 ready for the quilt top and got it all put together. And now it's all pinned together. And I'm leaning towards hand quilting it. Kate at the Last Homely House makes it look very doable. She doesn't use teeny tiny stitches. You know how in the old days, hey, even now, a lot of people probably pride themselves on fitting 12 stitches to the inch. Kate just does a nice, comfortable, long stitch, and I'm thinking I might try the same on this, because if I attempt to machine stitch it and I start getting puckers and things, and then I have to unpick it, then that's a whole bunch of time wasted when I could have just been hand stitching it. So I need to give that some more thought, but maybe we'll see some of that activity in the next vlog too, and hopefully some more beanie. So what with having tomorrow free and having a friend coffee morning on Friday, I think there'll be quite good progress on all of my projects in the next couple of days. And then, as I said before, hoping the weekend I get a couple of fun activities squeezed in, because I turn 63 on Sunday, and I'm very excited about that. And if anyone asks, I can always say, inside, I just turn the numbers around. 63 on the outside, 36 on the inside. Thanks so much for watching. Well done if you made it to the end again. I always say that, don't I? And I'll see you again soon for some more fun things. Bye for now.